The Chicago Bears are an absolute joke. They somehow managed to give up a 21-point lead to the worst defense in the NFL. Their defense was able to recover a fumble for a touchdown, and yet they're one of the worst, and it's not even close. You see, heading into this matchup, this Week 4 matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Denver Broncos, many considered it to be called the Tank Bowl, with the loser of this matchup being presumed to get the first overall pick and, select Caleb Williams. And that makes sense. Both teams were 0-3 heading into this game. They were two of the worst teams. I know that the Vikings and Panthers also faced off, and they were another 0-3 team matching up against each other. But both those teams are probably better than the Broncos and the Bears. But, after winning this game for Denver, Russell Wilson and Sean Payton have something to work off of, and they might be able to turn their season around. It's not over for them yet. But you know who it is over for? My Chicago Bears. Yeah, the season's done. We're only 4 games into the season, about a quarter at this point, and we haven't won a game. It's been ugly for most of it. I mean, except for this last game, but it was against the Broncos, so who counts that, right? I don't think it counts. When we play against good competition, it isn't close. Luke Getsy and Justin Fields seem like they're clicking week by week, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you know what? Luke Getsy, Matt Eberflus, and Justin Fields probably won't be on this team come next year. Like I said, there's probably going to draft Caleb Williams. And as much as I hate the idea of moving on from Justin Fields, I think it's time. It's been 3 years. There's been almost no improvement at all. And he's just not a winning quarterback. No matter what the Bears try with him, we can't win. Maybe you can blame the awful coaching staff or the terrible team put around him. But, they try to make him a pocket passer. The team plays like trash. They try to make him a mobile quarterback, play to his strengths, and yet the Bears still find ways to lose. Just look at last season, for example. I mean, the Bears started playing to his strengths on a Monday Night Football game versus, the New England Patriots. They started playing to his strength, and they actually won. The team looked fantastic. And then they kept that going and lost, the next 9-10 games from there? Yeah, they went on to lose the rest of the games after figuring out how to use Justin Fields. And maybe you could say it was the defense, because anytime Justin Fields would put up 20, 30 points, the defense would allow 40, alright? And that was true. There was nothing Fields could do, and it looks even worse this season. And what hurts the most is that this kid has so much potential. So much more than Trubisky ever had. And yet Trubisky still, you look at the statistics, Trubisky probably played better in his time in Chicago than Justin Fields has so far. And what bothers me the most is that when the Bears eventually move on from Justin Fields, he's going to find a new home. He'll probably get one more chance to start, and he'll probably shine. Because the Bears organization is so awful at growing quarterbacks, alright? Jay Cutler, great quarterback. Did we grow him? Hell no. We got him from the Broncos. Let's be real. The last good homegrown talent that the Bears ever developed under center was probably Jim McMahon, and he played all the way in the 80s, almost 40 years ago. I mean, the Bears won a Super Bowl with him. Did the defense carry? Yeah, but that's the story of Chicago Bears history. Same thing with Rex Grossman. Homegrown talent, not as good as Jim McMahon, but the defense took him to a Super Bowl, and that time they lost, alright? So the defense has always been great for Chicago, except now. Now, the Bears still have no QB, and they have no defense. And when you combine those two important qualities together, you get the worst team in the NFL. I mean, the Bears were 3-14 for crying out loud, so, this shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. Even though many people predicted the Bears would have a huge improvement, especially with all the free agent signings and draftees, the Bears were looking to have an up year. And by up year, I mean 6 or 7 wins. I doubt that's happening. I doubt the Bears even get half of 6 or 7 wins. I couldn't see this team beating anybody unless their opponent suffered major injuries. That is the only way this team is winning a game this season. And if we take a look at last year's draft trade involving the first overall pick, honestly, looking at it now, I still kind of like it. The Bears moved to the 10th overall pick. They draft a good tackle in Darnell Wright, solid. They get DJ Moore, a fantastic receiver who, Justin Fields is finally using, fantastic. And they get the Panthers pick this year. And the Panthers are 0-4. So hell, the Bears might just have the 1 and 2 pick. So I still like the trade. Plus, if the Bears went out and drafted CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or even Anthony Richardson last year, they would have the same problems that Justin Fields is having now. They would absolutely struggle. They'd probably play even a little bit worse. So I didn't see any point in drafting a quarterback last year. But this year, Caleb Williams is an absolute stud. They're saying he's the most surefire prospect that they've seen in a decade. So hell, I would like to see the Bears maybe look at potentially drafting Caleb Williams. The only thing I ask the Bears organization if they were to draft Caleb Williams would be to also get Marvin Harrison Jr. probably, as a good 1-2 duo, and then they could still have DJ Moore. All of a sudden, this offense is scary. Hell, Khalil Herbert still explodes every now and then, and he's probably going to be cheap, so this offense would start looking nice, and somehow figure out a way to build the defense. They did get Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. If they're able to build upon that this offseason, then you're looking at a 5-6 win team. And if we're staying in the scenario of the Bears drafting Caleb Williams, then obviously Matt Eberflus is out the door. I would love if they just got rid of him mid-season, but that's not how the McCaskies do things. The McCaskies never get rid of a head coach halfway through a season. Hell, they could have done it with Mark Trestman. I wish they did it with Mark Trestman, but no, they didn't. They wrote it out with him. So they'll probably write it out with Eberflus. They wrote it out with Nagy. So we're looking at getting maybe Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy would be cool as fuck if we got him as a head coach. I mean, obviously, we would have to see how things play out for the Commanders for the rest of the season. But as of now, the way that Bieniemy has been able to turn around this offense in a year's time is beautiful. I mean, the Washington Commanders went from one of the worst to a top 10 as of right now again. But they put up 30 points versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles have a really good D. So if Bieniemy comes to Chicago, maybe he can work something out with Caleb Williams. And I know I'm talking a lot about Caleb Williams in this video, but the truth is, I like Fields. Honestly, I like Fields more than I would want Caleb Williams, but I have to be realistic in this video, because if the Bears don't start winning and don't start winning fast, he won't be here next season. So there's no point in discussing what the team will look like with Fields under center, because he won't be here. So, we're talking about nothing at that point. That's why I'm focusing so heavily on Caleb Williams towards the end, right? Because Fields, unless he goes on like an 8-game win streak, his time is done, sadly. Now, were there some good things to take away from the Broncos versus Bears game for the Chicago Bears? There was. I mean, obviously, the offense runs 10 times better when Chase Claypool is not on the field. Chase Claypool not being there turned Justin Fields into an MVP level quarterback. Of course, he did end up throwing that pick at the end of the game. But, maybe Chase Claypool's the problem. Maybe on Thursday night, it won't be an awful game versus the Commanders, and the Bears will be able to pull away with the win, and then they catch some momentum. Doubt it. But, there's something to take away. There's some positives here. And amidst all this darkness and depression surrounding Chicago and their fan base, hopefully the idea of getting the first and second overall pick is enough light at the end of the tunnel for you to push through this season. It's going to be a rough couple of months going forward, but hell, start looking at the college football games and who might be on the Chicago Bears. I mean, my fantasy team's doing amazing, so there's some positives, right? Very few, but as Bears fans, we should be used to it at this point. But anyway, that's about it for the video. All I really wanted to cover and all I really wanted to say was said here. I actually did make a video, bashing the Bears that never got released because of the Damian Lillard trade. I held it off, and the Bears go ahead and lose to the Broncos, so hopefully this video is better than the one that was never released. We'll see. Catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.